welcome back to Midwest R6. My name is Alios, and I'm joined by Mystery Eric, and we are casting WMU versus UWRF, and Map 1 just concluded. And before we just jump into Map 2, Ricky, why don't you give us a little bit of a recap on how that went?
Yeah, we saw UWRF just kind of take control of the map very thoroughly. They looked very well put together on the defenses, and they had a very interesting style of attack that WMU was just not able to counter against. However, giving them the benefit of the doubt, that was UWRF's map pick, and they looked very confident on it. So I'm really hoping that we get to see why WMU has that 3-3 record with a plus 12 round differential here on their map pick of Chalet. This map's been around forever, and with a team like WMU, you got to expect that they understand this map maybe a little bit better, and it might play into their hands just that much more to give them more rounds on the board. We get to see a better performance out of them overall.
Yeah, for those of you who are a little bit newer to comp, typically in a best of three, which is three maps, and the first team to win two of them wins, you'll typically expect to lose your opponent's map, win your map, and then duke it out in the decider. So UWRF winning their map pick isn't really anything that's too worrying if you are a WMU fan, although it does mean they do have to come back from a deficit here. That being said, though, we don't want to keep you guys out of the action for very long, so just as soon as the players are ready, we are going to send it into the second map, which is going to be Chalet, and we're going to get to see how that goes.
Yeah, with Chalet in particular, right? We saw some pretty standard operator bans coming out on border, maybe with the exception of the OSA. I think that was very cool. But with a
Slinky,
map like
hurry up!
Chalet, you get a lot more limited options in terms of what categories of operators you can ban. This map is so dynamic in terms of how you can hard breach it, how you can soft breach it, that it's really not worth going after any of those operators unless there's something specific you want to go after. So you end up seeing a lot more bans towards the lines of Doki, Lion, Flores, even Finka when she was at her height. And I know with her coming back, honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing her or Gridlock hit the deck here too. But yeah, you get those stylistic bans coming out. There's not going to be a hard breacher ban. There's not going to be a soft breacher ban. So you get to see a lot more of those dynamic operators. I know a big one here is that Flores. The Retero exploding drones provide a ton of value for the attack here, especially with how the defense plays certain sites, specifically kitchen and bar. They're very reliant on using deployable shields and other pieces of utility to extend yourself out. And being able to blow up those consistently from a distance is a very powerful tool, so I would not expect him to make it through this ban phase. But the first operator gone is going to be that Dokkaebi UWRF, removing them from the board, starting on that defensive side. So now WMU gets to remove the attacker of their choice here as well. Very curious to see what they pull out here. They banned Doki on the previous map, that got banned for them here. So they get a little bit more freedom here if they were planning on banning the Doki as well, and they're going to choose to remove Jackal off the board. So the flank watch and roam clear potential for both teams has just been handicapped pretty significantly.
Yeah, we're going to see the first Defender ban coming out here from WMU, and that's going to be a Defender who is one of what I called on the previous map, the big three, with the other two being Solus and Azami. I wouldn't be surprised to see either of them get banned, or even a Mira potentially, if that is how W or UWRF are feeling. And it is going to be the Mira. So we're going to once again have both Solus and Azami on the board, and if you know how to abuse those two operators on this map, it can be quite devastating to the attack, especially if they are inclined to play more slowly.
100%, especially on Chalet. Just the value that specifically Azami can have literally everywhere on this map cannot be understated. Picking that operator increases your chance to win, I think, by at least 15 to 20% with just how much utility she's able to throw around. And she might not be part of your big three, but she really is part of mine. Valkyrie on this map is absolutely insane as well. If you've ever played this map and looked up at the ceiling and gone, huh, that's way too many places to hide a Valkyrie camera, join the club, because Valkyrie can hide cameras literally anywhere on this map, and they're near impossible to find without bringing an IQ, and then you're paying the IQ tax, and no team really wants to play that operator right now. She's not really in a good state. She doesn't have any utility outside of that scanner, so picking her does feel like a detriment. We're starting upstairs here as well for UWRF, which is not the traditional place that you'd expect a team to start on Chalet, so we're getting some interesting decisions coming out here already, especially with the Kaid mute as well, so they're playing a very fortified version of this upstairs home.
Yeah, Valkyrie on this map is scary, especially when you have a nerd on the other team who enjoys going into custom games and just throwing cameras at walls. I wouldn't know anything about that.
No, certainly.
So, definitely don't check the things I've done with Bank specifically. We're going to see some droning being done by Waves & Co. Outside of Library here, it looks like they do want to go for pretty standard attack for this top floor, which is get control of Library and that area, and then use that to get the wall and office open, and then plant on the half wall, although Stewie down below could pose a bit of a threat here if he is uncleared, and JD on this pixel angle could pose one as well, along with Arc sitting inside of box. All positions that need to be cleared out, though without a Jaeger present in this lineup, that is definitely doable. Though it looks like the entry might be a little bit hesitant, except for Slinky, who does get in, but he walks into a crossfire. Arc gets the opening pick. And now the rest of WMU still outside of the building, still hesitant, except for Garden, who opts to try to walk in here and get a pick, but he's going to have to contend with JDH to do so, and it's not going well for him so far.
Yeah, honestly, I actually really liked that move from Slinky. I didn't think it was too bad. I think the part that fell behind was that WMU didn't follow up on it, but Waves is able to follow up on the scoreboard, chiming one back for his team and evening out that man advantage. And very importantly as well, it's that pesky player on Mezzanine that has been taken out. That's such a hard spot to clear, and it did cost them 2 minutes and a player to do it, but they got the space, which cannot be understated. This is the crux of their attack here. If they aren't able to get past this Mezzanine and top blue space, they have no chance really of winning the round here, and Arc's not giving it to them for free, and neither is Wecon peeking out through Piano and being able to take down the players trying to walk past towards blue. So now we're left in a situation where you have two hard breachers and a Buck trying to just break open the fort against the horde of UWRF, and Stewie, that player you talked about being a thorn in their side earlier, finally strikes, peeks out main lobby, and takes out Yeti.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of aggression coming out here from UWRF, and it's aggression that I like, especially when it's off your teammate like what Wecon does now. Get up to chase the last with a shotgun, he gets it with the Paladin Smite, and ends up knocking Nighthawk out, and picking up a beautiful 3K along the way to lock out that first defense on what a lot of people consider to be one of the worst sites on this map, or lesser easily defended sites on this map.
Yeah, it usually flips back and forth between this site and basement, although we've seen a surge in basement being very strongly defendable now. But yeah, usually it's historically one of the worst sites to play, and when you play it like that, it doesn't look too bad. Although I do think we gotta give some credit to how WMU had different ideas coming into it. I like the second hard breacher they're bringing. They had problems in the previous game where their hard breacher would get caught out, and then they weren't able to do it. They've corrected these decisions. They actually talk to each other in between games, so hopefully they're able to get some rounds on the board here as we now pivot to what is probably the most defender-sided site here on the map, Bar Gaming. This site in particular requires so much control of the building to be able to comfortably take. And so we've seen a lot of teams try and cheese that by just taking Library directly, kind of 50-50ing around from there, because in some cases that's favorable to trying to clear this upstairs setup that you see UWRF setting up right now.
We're going to see office wall being reinforced here, which is something I'm typically not a fan of, as it can be very beneficial in some cases. I'd argue it's more of a detriment, as if you put holes in that wall, then you can peek it from mezzanine, and it is very, very scary to try to contend with, especially if you have a quick peek god peeking that, as it can be very hard to get the kill before they can get away. We're going to see what looks like a solar overtake from WMU here, as they want to take a lot of map control that they can use, and then use that to burn out these shields and dislodge these defenders. Slinky going to be the spearhead of that push, walking up the solar stairs and clearing out some utility, throwing some attract stingers down as well to hold his flank, and just make sure that the defenders are going to have a hard time getting into their backs. And Yeti as well on that Nomad is going to double down on the flank watches. JDH is going to double down on his deaths as he gets taken out as the opener.
Yeah, I actually really like this decision here from WMA as well. I think they're very slow right now on this roam clear, but it is the correct decision. They skipped steps on that previous round, and it cost them dearly, and they're choosing to correct that decision now by actually clearing the map and forcing these defenders back before they try and take towards the site. So I do like this pathing difference here, and then Ark being able to escape with his life is not the ideal outcome there. And, well, these players from WMU have earned themselves a ticket into Piano, but this is where the difficult part of the round really starts if you're on the attack. You've now reached the point where you have to play the utility game that Siege used to be really known for. You need to leverage flashbangs and frag grenades, which WMU did not bring to clear out these positions. And so they're going to have a tough time dislodging these members of WRF that are just comfortably sitting back and waiting for WMU to come to them.
Doesn't look like there's a whole lot of, well, anything in the way of shields here, so then I got to deal with shields, but these positions nonetheless are very powerful, especially with no counter pressure coming out from library side. Stewie is almost killed off, but he does manage to get back to the site. Weecon gets one onto Garden as he brazenly tries to walk in Mezzanine from K9. And then he gets one onto Yeti as well, who is over inside a Piano. Now Wave sitting on that K9 balcony, looks to open up the library wall, but no, it's play there. Weecon swings out, gets the third kill onto Nighthawk, and brings things down to a 4v2 here. 2-to-1 man advantage. As Waves and Slinky have it all to do. They do drone out Weecon. They have confirmation on his position, but confirmation can only get you so far.
Yeah, they're going to have to start picking up the tempo here. The clock is ticking away from them, and with Weecon being able to escape this top floor, as he should, you know, there's not a whole lot left up here for them to find, but Slinky's able to jump in through the mudroom window and grab one kill back onto Ark. Weecon gets his fourth. He's now on for the eighth, and he gets it! The long-range shotgun shuts down the entrances here from WMU a little too slow, and Weecon just punishes them on every angle that they try and fit. The utility not working out for them, and UWRF is able to hold the fort down against the push there from WMU, and now we head over to their tertiary site of Kitchen Dining.
Great stuff there from Weecon, using his tools to the best of their ability and then some. Getting 8 kills in a row to lock out the first 2 rounds for his team. In beautiful, beautiful fashion. Put him on the smoke this time, give him a little bit more speed to work with, along with those gas grenades that can be so punishing if the attack is being too slow or low enough health. Kitchen is going to be the next site that we're going to see being defended by UWRF. And we'll have to see if this time, if WMU are able to make the adaptations that are necessary, or if they're going to keep getting hit by what the friend of mine refers to as the Paladin Smite being wielded by Weecon.
Oh, so I did hear you correctly when you called that shotgun the Paladin Smite. I actually really like that. I might steal that in the future. Just the thunderous noise that it can make as it cracks down on the attackers here. We are heading over to the kitchen, which is a tertiary site. It is a very weird site to play, and which is why you get to see some more niche operators coming out from the side of UWRF. And I think very notably, it's worth talking about that Maestro. Not an operator you get to see a whole lot these days, and it's a lot to do with the fact that in order to use his gadget, you really gotta be sitting down and not actively participating in the round. So you gotta have some good placement there, as well as some good team coordination and communication to make sure you're using those effectively here. So WMU's gotta win this round if they want to really breathe some life here into their attacks. They're starting off pretty strong. They're doing a thorough clear of this upstairs side of the map, but we really saw them struggle previously getting past this one mezzanine player here, but he doesn't have the backup he had previously. So this time it's just JDH versus the world, and that no lack of backup means that the wall can just be opened out from under him, forcing him out. A very nice utility clear here from the side of WMU to force JDH out of position.
We're going to see him relocated to inside of games, though, and if they don't read this out, this could be a very devastating position, as even if he just sits there for most of the round, just existing there and stabbing late round could be so deadly. He is droned out, though, and it looks like Slinky does want to move into a position to try to dislodge him here, but it could still be difficult to get him out if he doesn't want to be dislodged. Living inside of stock right now is control is being taken over by Ivy, and Ark is sitting on the blue stairs here, which means that there is some backup for JDH here. And if they want to try to move up these stairs here, or even if someone just tries to walk on JDH, that Maestro sitting there could be something that, if they don't read into it, if they don't have the information, could be quite deadly.
Yeah, and these positions here from Arc and JDH have really slowed the attack, but not enough to stop them from getting the opening kill. Slinky's able to kill Stewie, who was that upstairs player here for the side of UWRF, with the other four being down on site or across horizontally extended on the first floor here. But it does feel like UWRF's positions have done a good job of forcing WMU to slow down and burn that time off the clock themselves here. And with the position of the last members, they need to pivot into a hatch and a solar stairs push, but that's not going to happen either. Styx's Nitro Cell really just kind of shutting down any hopes of making an execute happen here. Slinky's now rotating back towards main lobby. There's two players here from UWRF that you haven't cleared, and JDH gets that information and the kill as well, punishing them for the lack of heads-up knowledge. He needed to go towards solar stairs, not main lobby there. And so now it's just two members of WMU with 15 seconds to play for. They're starting to throw these Nomad charges down as well. They're just trying to find anything here for them. Waves is going to run towards main lobby. They're still trying to make the standard hit work, but no one's cleared JDH until Waves finally takes him out. The Maestro as well rotating back towards site through the under portion of the map. Styx as well getting shut down before WeakCon trades him out, but WMU, they just ran out of time. They burnt too much time trying to chase Phantoms on that upstairs clear, and they get punished beautifully for it. Well played to UWRF.
Great stuff from them, and especially that Nitro Cell from Styx, even though he does end up getting killed when the attempt at the execute goes down, just the fact that he forced them into that awkward position and regains the man advantage is highly, highly valuable there. Although I would like to point out that Slinky is currently 2-1 on entry, and he has been kind of the shining star for WMU up to this point, as he is the one, as I said before, trying to go in and make stuff happen, get the early advantage for his team, get the map control they need, and just get something going, even if it isn't always working. And I do always like to highlight stuff like that. Even, I mean, like I said, when it's not working, as sometimes when it doesn't work out, it's a little bit more difficult to see, but it is always something that I do enjoy watching. Castle being brought out now by UWRF for this hold to the top floor, probably to just waste a little bit more time or draw out some utility usage that might be unwanted, and just waste as many things as they can.
Yeah, no, I kind of want to highlight Slinky's play as well here. There's a concept from, I used to play and cast and coach a little bit of League of Legends, and there's a concept that's very prevalent in that community of playing to win versus playing to not lose. And it kind of feels like WMU has shifted as a team into the just try not to lose these gunfights, try not to lose the game. And Slinky is trying to take the reins there and make the space happen. So to be able to have that mindset and really try and make plays happen here from a losing position is reputable. And I really want to give him credit for that as well, as he now has a task here of trying to make it work on this upstairs site that they got flawless on, I believe, the first time we saw them come up here. So WMU definitely has a tall task ahead of them here, and they're identifying these positions here from UWRF. It looks pretty much the exact same from what we saw out of the previously, actually exact same operators, players, and positions here. So WMU should have a pretty good idea of what this defense looks like before they even enter the building, but I don't think they accounted for Stu previously. So if Last Garden tries to go through a play through that K9 balcony window, he should get shut down on it here. Slinky's already in the building now too. They've seen the Valkyrie cam as well. That's some very good drone work coming out from WMU to just identify where the information from UWRF is coming.
Opening kill goes to Stewie, getting the pick on Last Garden, so Lion is knocked off the board first. Flash goes out onto Mezzanine, as it looks like Slinky wants to walk here, but he knows that he can't, as he'll be walking into a crossfire again. Instead, holds for the walkout, unfortunately misses the kills. His teammates continue to dump util into this one spot, but JDF isn't cleared. WeakCon almost is, though, as he's knocked down to just a sliver of HP. Arc gets the pick on the Slinky, though, and things are made more and more dire for WMU. We see Waves trying to walk up here and make something happen, get a pick back for his team, but JDH just doesn't reveal himself enough for it to happen. More util, more time being burned on one person who doesn't fall. Finally, Arc is taken out inside a box, but JDH still sits on Mez. WeakCon as well, but the flank requires more time and man count.
Yeah, they get it down to a 2v2 man count here for both sides, but with the amount of utility removed from the attacking side, as well as the clock being just completely drained, WMU has a mountain to climb to get back into this round. Stewie is going to miss this player to his left. The audio, though, gives him away, and he's able to grab Waves and the shutdown onto Nighthawk as well, so he's able to clean up that round. They just seemed like they didn't know where he was there at the end. Maybe a little bit of a gap in their memory when he killed that player jumping in from the Ego balcony. So a very nice play by Stewie to just maintain that position as well as sneak up behind the attack there and shut it down and give UWRF a very confident 4th round. They're playing immaculately here so far in their defense, and it's kind of what we expected after seeing their border setups here. Seeing them play defense on border, and I kind of am a little bit getting worried for WMU. It looks like their entries into the building are just a little bit shaky. They're missing the extra angles they need, and I feel like they need to take a timeout sooner rather than later now to try and correct those problems. And as much as I hate to say it, I really feel like the answer is Montaigne. They need some way to just brute force their way into the building and make these members of UWRF leave, because the utility they're throwing is not doing it yet.
Yeah, a lot of utility and man count and time is being wasted on these positions. We saw last round flash after flash after flash and body after body and air jab after air jab being thrown at 2 people who don't have ADSs to help them, who don't have Lamai magnets or Renegades or anything to burn. And the thing about util is that on its own, it doesn't necessarily do a whole lot. You need to do something with the control that you get with it. You're going to see a blitz come out from the Waves here, so
Almost
a bit adjacent to that Monty that you were speaking of. Drone work happening in the basement as well, so it looks like they might try to have the blitz potentially run up mezzanine or just run straight in bar to quickly take control of the site before getting the bomb down and then spreading out from there. And we're going to see it in action here as Waves going to just walk in. He's going to have to contend with this player inside of Stock, who's going to be fully blind now. And he's trying to kill them before the defenders get back to the site. Opening pick for Waves here. And no defenders on the site to deny the plant. But Weecon able to get a bunch of damage on the Waves.
There's a disconnect here in WMU. The diffuser had to jump in through the site window, so there was an opportunity there for the defenders upstairs to shut it down before they could get this box on the ground, but he's managed to recover, and Yeti is now placing the box down behind the bar counter. The drop from Arc is able to find it, but he doesn't spot out the blitz hiding in the corner in time. They've got it down to a 3v2, but with full site control in the hands of WMU. This is the most winnable round they've been in thus far. JDH killing that blitz as well. No, this is going to be a disaster for WMU if the UWRF is able to win this round. The one player upstairs, I believe that's Slinky, now left in a 1v2. He knows the position of one player, and he's able to get some tags on the JDH, but not collecting that kill is going to put him in a very, very painful position now. All of the utility went into that site rush, and with the missed position by Yeti holding that diffuser, they're unable to capitalize on the space they earned, and now it's just Slinky left against Weecon and JDH.
Something that I think is important to mention for rushes is that, I mean, things just need to happen very, very fast. And they did, except for the diffuser. And so they allowed UWRF enough time to get into the positions they wanted before they started getting that down. And then the defense just said, all right, well, we'll just kill you. And that is exactly what happens as well. There was no real pressure on the top floor either, at least none that I could see, and so the defenders just held the bomb site from upstairs. Tons of damage was dealt from that position, and even the kill on the planter happened because of a drop from downstairs. We have Slinky get one pick, though, in the second, as he gets his 1 versus 2 to close things out and finally get around for his team, although it took 5, and even still had to happen from a clutch.
Yeah, I mean, you're happy to get around on the board if you're WMU, but you're very unhappy with how it happened. Well played to Slinky. We've highlighted him as being a good player here and a solid player for WMU to try and play around, and he shows us why there. Just being able to isolate those 1v1s is a very good task for him to do. And we're going to see UWRF just immediately go straight back to the site, and honestly, I cannot blame them. They did not falter in the hands of a blitz rush against this site. And if that's the kind of force that you're willing to take on your setup, there's not really a reason to go somewhere else, especially now that WMU, they kind of showed their hand. And now UWRF can be even more prepared if they choose to do the same style of play. So now WMU is going to have to go back towards a more standard clear or bring out new curveballs, which is what we see Wave trying to do as he hovers over that Amaru. So they're trying to find new ways to be aggressive without picking that blitz, and I think that is the right call. You've got to change something here. The standard clear didn't work. Your rush got almost completely perfectly countered by UWRF. You need to hit the site in a different way that will catch them off guard and force the players to move around out of their positions.
Back to bar we go. Back to the solar overclear we go from the looks of things as well. Though there isn't as much effort being put into flank watch as Slinky this time has the Ash instead of that Gridlock. Sitting outside of Trophy yet again as his teammate Yeti is going to drone him in and allow him to take this space for his team. Looks like he wants to see if there are any potential roamers lurking down inside of Dining, or if potentially just lurk on to the side if the opening presents itself, but in all likelihood, such a thing would probably be considered suicide, though it is always potentially an option, especially with the lack of presence down by where he's sitting and the abundance of presence over on the top floor here, which hasn't really been contested all that much, and so Slinky might actually just be able to walk onto the site here.
Yeah, I really like this approach. They found a pocket through the defense, and they're all the way onto the site now. It's like a delayed rush almost. They've done the exact same thing, but now Slinky's the one leading the charge with his gun, but WeCon shuts him down immediately. And these rest of the members from WNU, they didn't get the memo. They did not follow Slinky into sight, so all of that space and pressure that they gained just phantom now. As these members upstairs rotate back into the position, they're calling the bluff. They understand that WMU is not in the site. And so these roamers are still just maintaining their positions, and Garden manages to sneak away past the gun of Stewie as he goes to take a more important angle as they got a read on this Nomad of Yeti out in this short hallway right in front of the site.
Definitely good play by Slinky there, but unfortunately not able to capitalize off of it as his teammates not quite in the position to do so. JDH gets a pick onto Garden, so that's the line off the board, and man count gained by UWRF. Nighthawk sits on this highway balcony here. He has the utility to open up these castle barricades and potentially get an angle going, but chooses not to do so yet. Waves and Yeti are gonna try to walk on this 45 hallway, see if they can get something going on the site like Slinky did. You're gonna want to walk in bar here through this hallway, but Stewie has the Overwatch here, and if they try to walk, they either have to hit a nasty shot or get fried, as the kids like to say. Looks like Waves wants to avoid this by either walking in games or walking in the doorway, but WeCon gonna try to contest, but it gets taken out. Yeti, it's refragged though by Stewie. Up above, Waves gonna walk up the blue stairs, but gets killed off by Ark, leaving it just up to Nighthawk, sitting outside of games. He's gonna jump in here and try to take his ones, try to make something happen, but the defender's in all sorts of positions that he has to clear. Manages to get the pick onto Ark, but he only has 5 seconds left. Has to take the second onto JDH. JDH just gonna opt to hide in the corner instead and then swing off the pre-fire. Pick up a 5th round for his team.
Yeah, honestly, I've got to give huge commendations here to UWRF and their ability to read how the attack is unfolding on defense. It's not a skill that comes supernaturally to you if you've only ever played this game in ranked or in a more casual setting, and it's a very important skill when you're playing a competitive game of Siege. You have to understand what the attackers are actually doing, and the fact that they did not fall for that bluff that WMU threw of having Slinky get into the site very aggressively, and they maintained those roamers upstairs with just pure confidence that it was just a one-off play. That is some very good communication and understanding of how your opponents are playing the game, and that's not something you get to see a whole lot, especially at the more collegiate level. So very good play by UWRF, but now they've got to make it work on the attack, and this was the side that UWRF struggled a little bit more on when we were playing Border. So when they come to Chalet now too, there's just going to be a lot more utility and difficult spaces for them to clear out, but they're bringing utility to do it, which I think is something that we need to highlight a little bit more too. They're bringing frag grenades against Bar as a site, and it's just such an invaluable tool when you're trying to clear players out from these power positions that we saw UWRF themselves holding upstairs. So bringing those grenades to try and clear that space is a very good change.
Looks like we might have a library direct here coming out from UWRF as most of them have spawned on that side, though might also get a bit of a solar over here, or potentially a bit of both, just kind of poke and prod at both sides of the map, and whenever an opportunity presents itself on one side, rotate people around and see what you can work off of it. You could have Arc sitting on this or on this highway balcony, excuse me, with Stewie looking inside a piano in towards box more specifically, with a cross being held by Arc, so a lot of intel being gathered on that side of the map, and they're going to see that there's not really a ton of presence directly inside of library, especially not inside a box, with most of it going to be coming from the top blue, as well as mezzanine, which are pretty centered positions, but centered for a reason, as they are fairly difficult to clear out.
Yeah, I love the thoroughness coming out from UWRF as well. They very early on put Arc on this hut window to just try and get these the angles onto these members of WMU and make it so that they're not comfortable really moving around these positions. So these players on library can isolate easier gunfights. Since WMU's players can't step back very far, Arc is going to punish them with it. Slinky trying to sneak by this window here. We might get an engagement on that between Buck and Capcan, excuse me, in a moment here. But this roam clear from UWRF as well is proceeding incredibly slowly, and I feel like that's the linchpin right now for them. They need to get those players up through the building so that they can actually collapse on this upstairs hold, and they're starting to do it just now. Slinky's position identified, and he doesn't have anywhere to go back to. Arc is holding him in this position, so the members of UWRF on this clear are able to do it, but it's actually just JDH. Stewie dies to a thorn gadget there, trying to jump in that library window. They're starting to feel the pressure of the clock now, and I've got to wonder why WeCon decided to abandon JDH as the only player pushing upstairs to go underneath instead, and he's going to get punished for that decision. A little bit of a wall bang coming out. You talked about those holes towards mezzanine as well previously, being able to shoot through that wall, and they show off why you want that there. JDH falls as well. A very nice swing from Slinky. These thorn devices as well, just completely denying the library jump in angles. UWRF did not drone out that utility, and they let Slinky escape. So now it's just WeCon and Arc in a 2v5 with 30 seconds left on the clock.
See Slinky reposition on the blue stairs. WeCon sits inside of piano. Now smoke grenades are starting to come out, as well as WeCon is on low HP and almost no time left. He has to take this gunfight with Slinky, but the shield gives him such an advantage in this peak. And then his teammate is killed off as well. Not gonna fully commit to walking into the hallway. Still gets the pick, still saves the KD, but it's all for naught as his team loses the round.
Yeah, honestly, that's a very good look from WMU. They really showed that they are able to play this map and why they kind of picked it out, right? This is the best site on the map, realistically, for a team to try and defend. So it makes sense that they are able to win it out, but it's just how you win it that feels good, right? They've been struggling so far through the series, and to be able to win your first really confident round where there was never a point where it really felt like UWRF was in the driver's seat might give them a little bit of momentum boost to make this much more of a contest, especially now that we're heading over towards Kitchen, which is a very fun site to defend, but it's also very taxing mentally, right? There's so many different angles that you have to worry about the attackers coming through. At any point, they could attack the site from what feels like 18 different directions, and you got to kind of account for all of them, so communication's very important here. And yeah, they're going to have a little bit of a harder time, especially, I think, with that Thorn. They got so much value from those Thorn Bloom devices on the previous site, just because people were trying to jump into library. I almost want to see them place them in the same spot and just play mezzanine balcony again, which is how effective Thorn was in that space for them.
I'm definitely a huge fan of putting the Thorn gadgets in areas where they go off once someone is already in a position they can't easily escape from, like if they jump inside of a window in this case. WeCon gets the opening pick off of what I believe was a spawn peak, either that or just a really, really unlucky wallbang if you are Yeti. But regardless, opening pick for UWRF and an entry down inside of car garage as well from the looks of things, which, if there are any defenders standing on soft floors, those frag grenades could potentially be deadly if that is the route that UWRF look to go. This Brava as well is going to be able to take some utility that is on the site, and if this isn't read into by WMU, then could potentially be quite deadly, especially with multiple people down inside of the basement. That kind of information at the top of West Main Stairs could be the make or break.
Yeah, the alibi spots out this Brava drone as well, so they should know that that is a piece of utility now that WMU or the UWRF has stolen away. As Styx makes his way into the balcony, is this Thermite and Diffuser completely alone? No, Stewie's there. He's got him to back him up. A little bit delayed there. I was scared just a touch that if one of these members from WMU swung, that would have just been round-ending losses. But this setup from WMU is incredibly passive. They can't actually stop the members of UWRF from just opening that mezzanine breach, establishing verticality control, and going for the default site breach. They're going to have to start walking into the attackers because they've reinforced this master wall. They are just kind of hoping that UWRF walks up at them, and with one Thermite shard going down actually on the soft wall just to get the wall open now. And with the clock ticking away, they're actually in a pretty decent spot if they're able to read into this defense. But it doesn't look like they've done their drone homework so far, and they don't really know what they're working with upstairs. So much time spent from UWRF in the basement now that they've kind of got to rush this upstairs clear and hope that they guess right the first time. And they're unable to guess correctly against these Thorn devices. I believe that's the third gadget kill now, 4 waves that we've seen in this game. So incredible value coming out from that Thorn. And these members of WMU are just going to run away. They give up this upstairs advantage, and I can't really blame them. They've got 50 seconds left, and not a single drop of verticality has come through. Plus, the hatch is still reinforced. They are sitting very pretty here to try and take this round just off of time alone.
Hatch is going to be opened up by the last Thermite charge in Styx's pocket, so not all for naught here. And if they are able to win their gunfights effectively enough, they can still take this. Frag grenade in the pocket of Wukong if he finds the opportunity to use it. 2 members of WMU fall. Nighthawk brings one back, but it's all up to him and Garden as he sits inside of West Main, gets taken out by JDH. Last player sitting inside of Dining, trying to get the angle on the diffuser, but it doesn't work as Wukong gets the swing. That's map and match point secured by UWRF.
Yeah, a little bit of a shaky round from them. It just felt like they couldn't really figure out how they wanted to take that round until the very end. When starting off in the basement, just walking back all the way upstairs. They just did a full tour of the building there. They started underneath the site, walked away from it, went above it, then came back down through the side that they were already on. Just really wasting a lot of their own time there by not having a cohesive plan for how to take from the start. And so I really want to see them kind of clean that up. But the side of WMU now, you're in a very big pickle now. You won your primary site. You lost the secondary one. It was close. It was close. The kitchen site, it came down to the end there, especially on the time. Maybe they could have won it if they stayed upstairs a little bit longer. There's so many ifs on that site in particular. But now you have to win 4 rounds in a row, and at least 3 of those can't be on your primary site. So they've really got to figure out how they want to go about this now and use this timeout very well to just piece together how to counter these attacks from UWRF. I feel like they've got to just play around information and utility, right? I want to see them start picking Pulse. I want to see them continue to play Valkyrie. I want to see them bring Nitro Cells and punish UWRF for just taking their time. They are very slow on these attacks so far. Punish them for it by using gadget utility and not directly taking gunfights where they're advantaged.
I think a big issue as well is that there were quite a few people on WMU when that execute went down that looked like they weren't prepared to take a gunfight. The notable example that we kind of saw, in my opinion, was Nighthawk watching West Main as he killed Arc walking up West Main stairs, but then once he was swung from the carpet doorway, he wasn't prepared for that fight to happen. He didn't expect someone to swing there. And so when they did, well, it was a done deal. And being down 6-2 like WMU are on their own map pick and on match points, might I add, it puts you in kind of a weird mental state where you don't want to make a mistake. You feel like you have to play perfectly for several rounds in a row just to get overtime, and even still, that's going to allow UWRF at least 1 round on defense, which they excelled at so thoroughly, whereas UWRF, they're chill, they're relaxed, they know they can throw a couple rounds and still bring things under regulation and Well, they can make mistakes and still go to overtime and be completely fine, and they're going to be playing like it. I mean, WeCon is being so aggressive and fast here with this space that he's taking. I mean, he could potentially even just walk up West Main here if no one's looking, and if he feels that he has the confidence.
Yeah, he's kind of playing with that idea right now, just peeking around the staircase, takes out that default cam, but the last time that they attacked the site, they did this exact same path, and we should see these players in a moment just run up main lobby stairs, and I'm still a little bit confused as to why they're taking this space underneath the site if they're not going to walk up the stairs, but JDH kind of wants to play around with it now, too. These two players, JDH and WeCon, by the way, if you take a look at the scoreboard, have done so much work for UWRF as the two of them combined, and it looks like they're going to take an early engagement here against Nighthawk, almost winning that trade, but there's an extra player, the alibi of Last Garden there around the corner who's able to grab that trade, but JDH still gets one, and they weren't expecting WeCon to be following him as well, so this is a ton of pressure directly onto the site that the members from WMU are not reacting to. Waves is just sitting upstairs, content to play his space because he trusts that his teammate Yeti is going to win that fight, which he does. And now we're stabilized into a 3v3 with half the round gone, and that is the two primary entry players from UWRF gone as well, and the shield upstairs that they haven't really fought yet is now coming into play as well, but Waves just gives it up. He walks back towards the staircase. They want to just try and play the site and force these members of UWRF to come to them, and Ark's doing just that. He's prone on the floor. He's slinking around. He sees the line of sight onto Slinky, but he wins the gunfight back. A very nice shot by Slinky to give them the man advantage in this last minute.
We see Waves retake the top floor as well, get the pick onto Styx while he's at it. Stewie is left up there with him, and it doesn't really look like he knows where he is, though he does still win the gunfight. There's a little bit of awkwardness, and Stewie's aim catches him. And that is the first of 4 rounds that's needed by WMU for this comeback. And it's going to force them on to another site, which is going to be Bar, which I believe they won the previous time, so it's not all doom and gloom, but there is still the adaptation, or the opportunity, rather, for UWRF to do an adaptation to what was done previously and take this round.
Yeah, and they really are going to need to make an adaptation because WMU looked very solid on this site the last time we were here, and they are also changing up things on their side as well. And I actually really like this read from WMU. They've recognized that UWRF is really struggling into these trap operators, so they bring another one, specifically Frost. And when you think about Frost, this is one of 2 maps that I'd say that she has incredible value on. There are so many unclearable windows, and what I mean by that is you can't rappel on it and shoot the Frost map out. You have to shoot the Frost map by jumping in, which means that you're taking a gunfight with the mat and a player holding a gun at the same time. So Frost just has an insane amount of value around all of these windows that UWRF have shown a propensity for just jumping into. So they're going to have to do a little bit more homework this time, use the drones to spot out this trap utility, as well as put together a more cohesive push, which is something that we've seen them really struggle with. They love to go for these discoordinated pushes where it's one push and then another, and against these trap operators as well as this upstairs setup from WMU, they've really got to coordinate those 2 halves.
I'm going to see another entry into Car Garage here for WeCon, as it does seem like it is a spot that he enjoys quite a bit. Garden takes quite a bit of damage from these players on Ego Balcony and on Library Balcony as well, so much so that he opts to just fall back to the site. WeCon is in the basement here, which could potentially be an issue for Slinky if he doesn't know they're down here, and he is going to hear the sound of the spear rattling off, so he does know that WeCon's down here. It doesn't look like WeCon has an active drone, which could be quite deadly if things progress in certain ways. Going to take the ground into Wine now and peek through the holes the Orcs makes, gets the opening pick onto Slinky as well. And though it's not a lot of utility off of the board, one of the top fraggers for WMU, as well as good flank potential being knocked off, is not something that I think UWRF will complain about.
Oh, absolutely not. Getting that early value as well is very nice. I'm a little surprised WeCon hasn't healed himself back up because Finka has the ability to do that, but they're still playing that tempo game. And while the tempo is slipping away from them a little bit more, this very thorough basement clear that they're doing nets them a kill, but they then have to just run upstairs to go rejoin their team anyway. as Styx has somehow managed to avoid all of that trap utility that I was talking about and get his way all the way up library. He's just in front of the shield now, taking a gunfight, and he wins it against Waves? What on earth is that? Nighthawk, you need to help your teammate. But now Nighthawk is just left alone upstairs, and there are so many angles now that he has to worry about with his teammate being gone, but that's one more cleared as Yeti takes out the hard breach from the side of UWRF. The very nice reverse vertical angle up the hatch from the smoke player to at least get the man count closer to an even state. Stewie looks like he knows that this player's up here, but he's worried about too many different angles, and JDH is able to win that one. A nice hatch angle here from Last Garden, but he's unable to control the recoil and get the shots off. You got to pull down a little bit harder, buddy. And now we're left in a 2v4. Make that a 1v4. It's now Yeti left versus all of these members from WRF to even keep the dream alive a little bit longer. He's got some smokes in his pocket, or just one left, but these gridlock track stingers poking away at his health bar. The last smoke canister is probably going to mean that his time here is slowly ticking away. The flashbangs start running in, raining down upon him. Stewie's in sight. JDH doesn't care about the plant. He wants to kill. UWRF take a very clean second game as well and win off WMU's map pick of Chalet.
Well done to both teams, but well done to UWRF especially as well. They are the victors, winning this game, going 14-5, I believe, in round count. So really impressive stuff done from them, not even letting their opponents win enough rounds to get overtime in a game. So, I mean, there's not really much to say. They just played better.
I mean, it really hurts when the analysis comes down to that. But yeah, I think it is worth saying UWRF had a very good game today. So you got to feel good for them, and especially with how close the leaderboard was and the standings were for this division that we saw at the start. Getting this win is very good for this team. It helps differentiate them against some of their near close competitors.
Absolutely am inclined to agree. So once again, folks, we are going to send things to a little bit of an intermission here just while we get some things prepared. We do have an interview coming up, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But we're going to, as I said before, send things to a little bit of a break just to get that set up.
Just make Festival Van Beats.
Hello and welcome back to the stream. We have JD here for an interview from you from UWRF, who was which was the victorious team in the best of three. And no, it's a pretty cliche question, but man, I gotta ask you, how does it feel winning so dominantly?
It feels really good to win. We knew that Western Michigan was going to be a really tough team. We know they put in the work, so did we. It was just going to be a really good battle. We just came out on top tonight. That's really what happened. The team played well.
Yeah, you guys definitely played well, and I think something that I personally was very impressed with, I think Ali was as well, was just how much you guys were able to read the attacks on defense side. I was just kind of wondering what goes into that from your guys' perspective, because it looked like the communication was on point. Do you think that's just like how much you guys have been practice playing it together, or do you think that was just in the moment you guys are just feeling it with the operator selection as well as the information you were able to provide back and forth into reading the attacks?
Yeah. So defense, we put a lot of work into it. A lot of fine tuning. Obviously, we're not going to go into too much about that, right?
Yeah.
But it's what we did was just pretty much we played our ops. We knew what we had a job to do. We know that we had each other to refrag if possible. We pretty much picked our comfort ops in that one. Just played off that, played off the communication that we had and the intel, and that's really what stopped them.
Well, it does certainly look like it was highly effective. So one thing that I kind of noticed in the first round was you guys played very slowly. It looked like you guys were a little bit hesitant to kind of push into things if there's too much in your way, but even still, you guys were able to be efficient on your attacks, and there wasn't a whole lot of room for error with kind of how thoroughly you took things. So, is that kind of a play style thing, or was that more of a we just don't want to let Slinky run around and kill everyone type of thing?
Well, I mean, it's always nice to try to stop Slinky, but we really the first round, right? It was kind of just we took our time with it, a little more time than we would have liked, but we really were trying to feel on how these guys were going to play on defense, and I think we learned quite a lot on that first round on how they were playing, and we kind of adapted to how we wanted to do our play style. So it was nice to do that. The team worked really well, communicated really well. Drones were great, which is something we worked on a lot, and we kind of just rolled with it from there. Again, it's nice to kill Slinky, but I do got to give props to the other team. They did put up a really good fight on.
Yeah, it definitely it might not have shown too much on the scoreboard, but a lot of the rounds definitely did come down pretty close. So a very nice shout out towards them. I kind of want to take a step out of the game itself and take a look at Midwest R6. We saw you guys tied in terms of win-loss with WMU coming into this match, and you've now got this win to push yourself up, I believe, to top 4 now in your division. How are you guys feeling looking out to close out this season and potentially look towards playoffs as well?
Yeah, it's always nice to get the win, go positive 4-3. Right now, we're just going to keep looking at the VOD. We're going to make sure that we can fix stuff going on. It's nice to have the win, like I said, but we just got to keep moving. We got to prepare for the next team. We know what's coming up in playoffs. It's just going to be who it is, and we're going to have to just keep going and stay ready for them.
Well spoken, I would certainly say. So just real quick before we kind of do the outro for the stream and end things off, I would like to give you the floor to say anything that you would like to say. Thank anyone you'd like to thank, whether it's your teammates, your college, or your mother, if you feel so inclined. I will give you the floor.
Yeah, so I'd like to thank these guys behind me. Really, they did all the work, right? They played their hearts out. They stepped on the gas. They kept going. They never gave up in that game. There was moments where we probably could have called a timeout. We didn't. We're like, we just got to trust the process. to our school, right? All the families and support that we had tonight. We knew the game was going to be on stream, right? Thank you for showing up, right? We played our hearts out for you guys, along with everyone else, right? Western Michigan, great team, especially Slinky and Chippy. They did a lot of work to get them set up. So we were very excited to play them, especially from qualifiers to now 8 weeks, right? We waited for this day, and they sure made it a good one.
Well, thank you once again for interviewing with us, and congratulations again for your win. We are going to go
Sweet.
ahead and throw things to an end screen real quick, but before we do, just make sure that if you have a clip from a Midwest R6 match that you would like to potentially have put on the Twitter, make sure to message it to @MidwestR6 on Twitter, and it could potentially end up there in the top 5. And make sure to check out By Blue Light as well, and thank you again to them again for sponsoring Midwest R6, and we will see you later.